This is a really deep topic that must be talked about. So, I want to talk today about confidence, being a woman, and when sometimes we step into unconscious self doubt about our capabilities, about our bodies, about who we are just as women in the world. And I want to talk about this because I had a really interesting moment with a girlfriend of mine when we were driving in the car and I was hearing her talk about herself in a way that was joking and playful, but really underneath it, I heard a sense of lacking that self-love for her own body and for her own self. And it deeply kind of hurt me. Like I could feel myself kind of crawling into my own skin. Like it's not funny. Like it's not the way that we should be talking about ourselves. And I'll give you some context to the example. So we were off on a trip to do this workshop together. And then we were also supporting our partners who were in a marathon run. And she had actually decided last minute that she wanted to sign up, which I was like, go you. She had asked me if I wanted to do it. I am not a runner by any means. My partner does enough running for the both of us. And I asked her, what had you change your mind? Because you and I were supposed to be the girlfriends and, wives that are supposed to be on the sidelines supporting. And totally props to you that you want to run. But what changed your mind last minute? And she goes, well, whenever, my husband goes on this trip to do different marathon runs, I always come back a little fatter and a little more broke. And I know this woman to be an outstanding business coach and breathwork facilitator. And she is just phenomenal. I see how hard she works. So that in and of itself was like very interesting that like, okay, so when you support other people, you somehow don't have like relationship with your business, which I was like BS because I saw how hard she worked that weekend. And then on top of it, I heard her really, again, calling her body fat, which she is nowhere close to that, let me tell you. And it was just so fascinating to me that in a moment where we can just be, in a sense, self deprecating ourselves, kind of making light of how we are, how that might also affect other people. So, I'm a little bit more on the plusher, luscious side. I have an hourglass shape. I love my body. And so for someone who's a lot more petite than me to say, I feel like I'm get fat when I go on vacation was pretty outstanding because if I didn't have the self-love and body image that I do for my body, that would probably feel deprecating to me. Now it didn't, but I just found it fascinating that in a world where we sometimes beat up on ourselves, we don't realize the effect that it could possibly have on others. Now, truly in that moment, I just was more like, how could you be calling your body fat? How could you say that like you're not like working while you're on this trip? You're literally about to do a workshop with me. It was just so surprising. And trust me, I saw her on her phone many times, like checking her emails and being on top of it. And I was like, wow, good for her, even all the way up to the time that she was about to run for the marathon. And to what extent do we carry this sense of self-doubt or lack of confidence or lack of self-esteem in our bodies and our abilities as women that literally carries over into all of our relationships? In our relationships, if we're present with the people that we're hanging out with, in our relationships that we're present with our partners, with our clients, with our business. And it had me thinking, this is a really deep topic that must be talked about. And to me, it really comes back to presence. This is the first key pillar that I work with my clients on in my magnetically embodied method, the me method, as I call it. Because if you can't cultivate a sense of presence and like really being clear on who you are, how you're being in a moment, noticing the thoughts that come up, noticing what past you come from so that you can choose in every new moment the best available choice for you, you're always going to find yourself in a pattern. You're always going to find yourself in that routine state of your self-sabotage, over your victimhood, over your righteousness, you name it. And so it really just comes back down to, Can I slow down enough to be deeply conscious of the way in which I am speaking? Because the way in which I speak, it spells out who I am being in that moment. Can I be mindful of my physiology, of how I hold my posture, of how I carry myself, of how I see myself in the world? And when we can get so in tune with that level of presence and who we're being, so that we're again calling forward to our future self, our highest self, to bring that into this present moment, we're not allowing the past to then color who we are needing to be. Because I know if you're tuning in, you're the type of woman that wants that future self to step into this present moment. And it's not going to come from the identity you've been carrying up until now. The identity of, I'm not good enough. The identity of, I'm not worthy to be successful. The identity of, I'm fat, or I'm not healthy, or I don't look good in X clothes. The identity of, I'm stupid, or even the identity of, I just need to make light of this, even though I know that deep inside it's deprecating how I feel about myself. And it's just being mindful of those small adjustments. Is it easy work? No. It is really tuning into, again, how you are being, how present you are with your state. And it's not just mindset. It's about coming back into the somatics, coming back into your nervous system, noticing when you have a fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. When we slow down so much so that we can start to really see how every single choice is creating a ripple effect from moment to moment, we can really start to then make the best available choices for us in each and every moment. And so overcoming that sense of self-doubt or this lack of confidence in yourself really starts with slowing down, getting connected to who you really are. One of the best ways to really step into this is to ask 3 to 5 of the closest people in your life, what are the beautiful qualities that they see in you? And I'm not just talking about physical, but who you are as a human being, how you stand out in their life, how important you are, why you're so special to them, and really listen to the characteristics that they say about you. Really listen to how they describe you as honest, committed, authentic, loving, compassionate, powerful, and see how these words, there's a similarity, there's a strand, there's a common thread of how you be in the world. And when you can start to realize, like, that's the lens that you want to be carrying through your life, you can recognize when those little pieces of self-doubt come through. You can recognize when maybe you don't feel as confident on a task that you're about to take on, but you hear those voices of the people that love you the most, and you carry those in your heart, you carry those in your posture, you feel yourself walking just a little straighter into your relationships. And that's what truly makes you radiant. That's what truly allows you to magnetize what you desire to you. Whether in your personal relationships with your intimate partners, with your family, with your friends, with your clients, with your coworkers, with your family, with your children. Relationships are the core foundation of how we move about this world. And trust me, the way in which you speak about yourself matters. It matters how you show up. And it's not about fake it till you make it, because there's a genuine way of being honest and vulnerable around, I doubt my capabilities here, or I don't feel as confident about something. But choosing to brush it off in some sort of joke, honestly, everybody can see right through it, or at least I can. And I know I kind of came into all of my embodiment journey a little bit backwards. I mean, I really cut right at the knees any sort of self deprecation of my body at a quite young age, at 20 years old. And I didn't really deal with it too much in middle school, fortunately. I remember peak moments of, different things and like needing to shave and feeling self-confident about, different things. But I have worked so hard and over the last decade, a little longer than over the last decade, on tuning into loving my body and noticing how my body carries me in this world. And that's what I wish for you. I wish for you to have the most generous, loving, compassionate, and powerful relationship with your feminine self in relationship with your body. Because when you can have that, when you can feel that deep in your bones, that sense of embodiment of who you are being, you can crush anything.
I would love to know, what did you think of this video? Please comment below, what were your greatest takeaways? What is that golden nugget that sat with you that you are taking out and into the world? Because let's face it, transformation only occurs when you're willing to take action on it. So share below. That will ensure that you have really taken in this wisdom and you're going to amplify it in your life. And of course, if you loved this content, subscribe. And then you can always check your notifications so that you get all content that comes through. Because one of my greatest pleasures is to be able to see this energy being amplified and rippled into the world.